I found out my husband was emotionally cheating and now I don't know if I helped create the distance that led there. I found out my husband was emotionally cheating on me because I got jealous over a dog. That sounds ridiculous, I know. If someone else wrote that, I'd probably roll my eyes and think they were reaching. But that's honestly where the thread started unraveling. I'm 34F. My husband, Aaron, is 36M. We've been married 8 years, together 11. No kids. 2 dogs, Milo, who is basically a furry anxiety attack, and Pepper, who believes she runs the house. We own a small 3-bedroom home in a quiet neighborhood where everyone pretends to like each other and mows their lawns at exactly 9 a.m. on Saturdays. We've always described our marriage as low drama. We don't scream. We don't throw things. We argue about normal stuff, money, dishes, which family we're seeing for Thanksgiving. I used to think that meant we were solid. About 10 months ago, Aaron started working later. At first it was once a week. Then twice. Then it became this vague pattern where I'd cook dinner and text, "What time are you home?" and he'd reply, "Running late, don't wait up." I told myself this was adulthood. Careers. Deadlines. Promotions. Not every late night is suspicious. Then came Claire. Claire joined his company as a marketing consultant. I know this because he mentioned her at dinner one night in passing. She's actually good, he said, which, coming from Aaron, is high praise. He's usually critical of new hires. A month later, there was a company barbecue. Spouses invited. I almost didn't go because I was tired, but Aaron insisted. "I want you to meet everyone," he said. That felt reassuring. Claire was warm. That's the word that keeps coming back. Warm without being fake. Pretty without trying too hard. Confident. She hugged people like she'd known them for years. When Aaron introduced us, she smiled brightly. "So you're the famous wife." I laughed. "Famous? He talks about you all the time." That line should have comforted me. Instead, something small and cold settled in my stomach. Because when they talked, they had this rhythm. Inside jokes. Shared glances. The kind of easy chemistry you get from spending a lot of time together. I told myself not to be insecure. Coworkers bond. Adults have friends. But here's the thing about intuition, it doesn't shout. It hums quietly in the background until you can't ignore it anymore. The dog incident happened about 2 months after the barbecue. Aaron came home late, again, and immediately got down on the floor with Milo. He was laughing, baby-talking him in a way I hadn't seen in a while. "Guess who got treats today?" he said. "From who?" I asked casually. "Claire brought them to the office. For the dogs. She loves Milo." I blinked. She's never met Milo. She saw pictures. That shouldn't have bothered me. It did. Over the next few weeks, Claire's name popped up more. Not constantly. Just enough. A text here. A call there. Once, his phone buzzed at 10:45 p.m. and I glanced over because we were watching a movie. The preview said, "Tell Milo I expect a thank you." I laughed, but it felt tight. "She's really into our dog, huh?" "She just likes animals," he said. "Does she text the other guys about their pets too?" He paused half a second too long. "I don't know." That pause lodged itself under my skin. I wish I could say I handled everything maturely from there. I didn't. I started checking his tone, analyzing his schedule. Not full-on spying, but hyper-aware. If he said he'd be home at 7 and it was 7:20, my chest tightened. If he showered immediately after getting home, I noticed. One night, I asked directly. "Is there something going on with you and Claire?" He didn't explode. He didn't laugh. He just looked tired. "No," he said quietly. "There's nothing going on." "Then why does it feel like there is?" He rubbed his face. "Because you've been distant for months." That caught me off guard. Distant? I'm here every night. Physically, he said. Not really, you. And that's where the narrative shifted. About a year and a half ago, I had a brutal stretch at work. I manage a small nonprofit team. Funding got cut. I had to lay off 2 employees. One had a newborn. I kept it together in the meeting and cried in my car afterward. After that, I stopped talking as much. I'd say it's fine instead of explaining. I'd scroll instead of engage. I told myself I was protecting him from my stress. From his side, apparently, I was slowly disappearing. I tried to ask what's wrong, he said. You always say nothing. Because I don't want to dump everything on you, I snapped. I'm your husband, he said. That's literally my job. We went to bed back to back that night. The tension wasn't loud. It was quiet and heavy. For a while, I tried harder. I asked about his projects. Listened. Shared more about mine. He seemed relieved. The late nights didn't stop, though. Then came the twist I didn't see coming. I wasn't snooping. I swear I wasn't. I was looking for a charger in his backpack before a weekend trip and found a small envelope tucked in the side pocket. Inside were printed photos. Not explicit. Not even inappropriate on the surface. Just candid shots of him and Claire at job sites. Coffee cups in hand. Hard hats on. Smiling at each other like the world outside the frame didn't exist. My stomach dropped. There was also a folded piece of paper. It was a note. In her handwriting. I recognized it from a thank you card she'd given him after a successful campaign. I don't know when this crossed the line, it read. But you're the first person I want to tell things to. And that has to mean something. My ears rang. I sat on the edge of the bed staring at it for what felt like an hour. When he came upstairs, I was still holding the paper. He went pale immediately. It's not physical, he said before I could speak. I swear. That was the first thing out of his mouth. Not I'm sorry. Not let me explain. Just that. I laughed, but it came out wrong. So that makes it better? He sank onto the chair. I didn't plan this. You printed pictures, I said. You kept her note in your bag. He ran his hands through his hair. Because I don't know what I'm doing. And there it was. Not denial. Not defensiveness, confusion. He admitted they talked about things he and I hadn't talked about in months. Work stress. His dad's health scare. The fear that maybe we'd grown into roommates instead of partners. She listens, he said quietly. So did I shot back. You stopped, he said. And that hurt because there was truth in it. But truth doesn't erase betrayal. He said nothing physical ever happened. No kissing. No hotel rooms. Just long conversations. Parking lot talks after everyone else left. Late-night texts that weren't technically flirty but weren't exactly professional either. I felt seen, he said. And I didn't realize how much I missed that. I wanted to scream. I also wanted to collapse. That's the moral gray part. I understood it. I hated that I understood it. 4 months, I'd been half present. Going through motions. Assuming stability meant security. He sought connection elsewhere. Not sex. Not romance exactly. Connection. The climax wasn't dramatic. There was no smashed glass or screaming match. It was quieter than that. I asked him one question. If I hadn't found this, would you have told me? He didn't answer immediately, and that silence was louder than anything else. I don't know, he admitted. Finally. Honesty. We slept in separate rooms that night. The dogs were confused. I was too. The next week was brutal. We talked for hours. Some productive. Some circular. Some painful. He cut contact with Claire. He showed me the messages. Nothing explicit, but intimate in a way that belonged to us. I started therapy. He did too. We're in couples counseling now. It's messy. Some days I feel hopeful. Other days I feel like a placeholder in my own marriage. Here's the uncomfortable part, I wasn't innocent. I withdrew. I stopped letting him in. I assumed he'd always be there, emotionally waiting while I sorted myself out. That doesn't justify what he did. But it complicates it. So now I'm here. Asking strangers on the internet what I'm too embarrassed to ask people who know me. Is emotional cheating still cheating if nothing physical happened? Am I partly responsible for the gap he filled elsewhere? Or am I minimizing a betrayal because I'm afraid to blow up 8 years of marriage? I don't know if I'm the victim, the villain, or just a flawed person married to another flawed person trying to decide if love is enough when trust cracks quietly instead of shattering loudly.